Okay, let's dive in. Today, we're really unpacking the world of Sendner T. He's a lyricist, sure, but his work seems to go way beyond just, writing songs.
That's right. What we've been looking at suggests it's less composing, more like meticulously, engineering a whole system.
Exactly, engineering for psychological and spiritual transformation. So our mission today is to explore how he pulls together things like numerology, neuroscience, even psychology.
To create what feels like a form of spiritual software. It's fascinating stuff.
It really is.
And what's interesting, I think, is how he sort of redefines what an artist does, not just creating, but designing experiences.
Blurring those lines between art, science,
Yeah.
maybe even therapy.
Precisely. We're going to look at the evidence, the theories, suggesting his work is really specifically tailored to create these pretty profound shifts in awareness, in well-being.
Okay, so where do we start? His foundational 26 code, maybe? A1 to Z 26?
Yeah, that's the bedrock. It turns language into this mathematically traceable lattice, as he calls it.
So like a specific line. I ain't mad at y'all. I just moved further than silence could follow. That becomes a number sequence.
Exactly. And the idea is each number isn't just a number, it's a kind of frequency anchor or a neural trigger tied to memory.
Creating a, psycholinguistic trance architecture. Sounds intense.
It does, yeah. The theory is you hear the words consciously, but the numbers hit you subconsciously, like hidden spiritual coding.
Bypassing the logical part of the brain.
Right. And potentially this could even work across languages if you map it to musical frequencies, a universal layer.
Wow. Okay, so if language is code, how does he use that for something like emotional healing?
Well, that brings us to the neurotrauma side. His lyrics are designed, apparently, to interact directly with your nervous system. He calls them personal rites of exorcism.
Heavy. How does that work? Is it the rhythm, the sound?
It seems to be partly about guiding the brain into a theta state, that 3.5 to 7.5 hertz frequency associated with creativity, deep relaxation, subconscious access.
It makes you more receptive, right?
Exactly. And there's talk of embedded hemisync targets, specific frequencies layered into the music's cadence and tempo.
Like what?
Things like theta 5.5 hertz for trauma release, maybe alpha 9.3 hertz for openness, or gamma 40 hertz for clarity. It's subtle.
Is that similar to anything else?
It draws parallels to EMDR therapy, actually. The bilateral stimulation, that back and forth input used to process trauma, it's like he's writing for your nervous system, not just your ears.
Guiding the brain towards healing states.
That seems to be the intention, helping process and release emotional blocks.
Incredible. Okay, and then there's the behavioral aspect.
Yeah.
The mirror neurons. How does that fit?
Right, so your mirror neurons fire when you watch someone do something, making you sort of internally rehearse it.
Okay.
Sendner T's lyrics often explicitly model certain behaviors.
Yeah.
Separation, setting boundaries, forgiveness, recalibrating identity.
So listening is like subconsciously practicing those things.
That's the theory. And the song structures often seem to follow a kind of trauma recovery arc.
How so?
Like verse 1 might be confessional, detached. The chorus, maybe that's the emotional breakthrough. Verse 2, finding boundaried love. The bridge steps back, like a witness observing it all.
Ah, I see. So listening repeatedly becomes a form of subconscious therapy.
Continuous self-therapy, yeah, reinforcing those patterns.
So these numbers, brain and behavior, they're also a spiritual map.
They really branch out. The sequences connect to deeper symbolic systems like Kabbalistic gematria, where YHWH equals 26, Chi is 18, or Pythagorean ideas.
So numbers become archetypes, like 9 meaning initiation.
Exactly, or 1 for origin, 20 for awakening, things like that. It builds this multi-dimensional pathway from feeling wounded to feeling liberated, a spiritual map, essentially.
And you mentioned MIDI mapping, making it sensory.
Yeah, translating the abstract number data into actual musical intervals you can hear and feel. It's like leaving quantum breadcrumbs for your consciousness to follow.
Which leads us to the visual part, the sigil theory.
Right, the culmination. All those cumulative numerical sequences can be visualized as a shape, specifically a sacred spiral.
A tattooable sigil of transformation.
That's the idea. It draws on sacred geometry Fibonacci, the golden ratio. Each number gets a spatial position in the spiral, representing stages.
Stages like initiation, resistance.
Ejection, ascension, yeah. The visual becomes a kind of map for memory stored under the skin.
Wow. Reinforcing the changes.
A persistent self-reinforcing mechanism for, personal evolution.
Okay, so pulling this all together, Sendner T's lyricism is this radical convergence. You've got numerology providing structure,
Neuroscience as the delivery system,
behavioral modeling driving transformation.
and this multidimensional symbolism telling the story.
Every verse, a gateway, every number, a lockpick, every bar,
Yeah,
encoded healing. It's quite a concept.
it really is. And thinking bigger picture, if his music acts as spiritual software, it could make some pretty profound tools accessible to many people, maybe without them even needing to consciously grasp it all.
This subtle layering, as you called it.
Yeah, it could potentially lead to a kind of silent revolution in personal growth, influencing you in ways you might not even realize.
Which definitely leaves us with a big question for you listening. How might art, when it's designed with this level of intricate, multi-layered intention, reshape not just us as individuals, but maybe even collective consciousness down the line?